Hi crafters, Amy here, and today I have an easy encouragement card with another idea to use up some of that pattern paper. So let's jump right in. I have this gorgeous olive leaf die from Crafty Meraki, these pretty stitched rectangle dies from LDRS Creative, and some scrap pattern paper. Now here's a photo of the finished card. It came together really quickly, and I was able to use some of my favorite crafty items to tie this card together. So to start, I'm just going to die cut this piece of pattern paper. It is double-sided, but I do want kind of a less busy pattern. So this is a good way, especially with the embossing that I'm going to apply in a moment, to use up maybe some of that ugly pattern paper that you aren't quite sure what to do with. So I'm just going to use some low-tack mint tape here, and this is just the right size to cut this out with this particular die. I am using the middle side, or the middle size of dies, and it has this gorgeous stitched edging and kind of a cool detail around the corners. So it will cut it down a little bit smaller than A2 size, so it'll have a nice white border once I attach it to the card base. And then I am going to take the larger of the two leaves here from the die set and just mint tape that down onto the composition. Now I'm actually going to use the outer portion of the die, so I am being mindful of exactly where I place this, and then I will run it through off screen through my die cutting machine to cut this gorgeous olive leaf out of the pattern paper. It actually stuck right in my die cutting machine, so I'll grab that in a moment, but you just carefully remove the mint tape, and then you're left with this awesome cutout of the die right into the pattern paper. So I am going to use this little inside bit here. I'll show you how I use it in a moment, but basically this design couldn't be easier. Now I have a smattering of some of my favorite geometric Altenew 3D embossing folders. I'm just figuring out which one I want to use. I think that wood plank would be really cool. Ultimately, I end up going with this waffled diamonds just because it was geometric and I felt like the small details would really work well with this design. Now I am going to spritz the back of this pattern paper just to try and eliminate it from cracking as much as possible. It's kind of a, I don't know, I'd say medium weight pattern paper, but I'm going to run this through off screen through my die cutting machine to add this amazing texture and design to the card. I'm just trying to make sure it's straight so I don't have the design, wonky on the panel. So once I get this lined up, I will close it up and run it through my embossing machine. And I'm taking my time here a moment, just figuring out if it's straight. Okay, here we go. And you'll see it does actually still crack a little bit, but I didn't mind it because I felt like, I don't know, it gave it like kind of a cool distressed look. So it was a bit of a happy accident. I did notice for some reason the pressure, I think, kind of squished this design. So I had to be mindful when I did attach it to my card base to make sure I kind of spread out those stems a little bit more. Because for some reason, I found it with certain embossing folders, if it's a certain sort of line design or something all over, sometimes it can kind of really pull and push the paper around and stretch it to its limit. So just be mindful of that depending on what pattern you want to use. And here I have my artist tack. These are micro dots. This is a way to add adhesive. Now you could absolutely use, liquid glue or tape or whatever you have, but I have tons of this stuff and I just wanted to use this just because there's so many little delicate nooks and crannies around this floral that I felt like it was worth it just to get some even adhesive all over the back of it without having to have liquid glue oozing out. And honestly, this paper isn't particularly thick, so I didn't want any glue lines to show or anything like that. So you can see this is really stuck. So just be really careful when you're pulling it up because it is, still kind of a delicate die cut here. And then I'm just going to attach it right down onto a card base. This is a 110-pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. So I'm just lining it up to give it a nice white, even border. And then, like I said, as I'm pushing it down, I'm mindful to kind of separate the paper where it wants to kind of push back together and get rid of some of those stem lines. So again, this wouldn't happen probably with every embossing folder. I've just found it with certain ones. I have another geometric one too. I can't think of the name of it, but it'll really kind of, I don't want to say warp your paper, but it can affect it. So just bear that in mind, and pay attention and make sure that you aren't losing some of the cool line details. Now I'm using that same micro dot just to add adhesive to the back of the inner portion of this little olive leaf die cut, and then I decided to just throw that onto the inside of the card for some unexpected design features, and it kind of continues the design onto the inside of the card. So nothing got wasted here. I didn't have to try and store this very delicate little leaf die, which probably wouldn't have stored very well. But I did jump into my sentiment book. This is my storage solution for all of my die cut sentiments. I do have one for my critters, like my stamped animals that are colored and die cut out and things like that. And then I have this one for my sentiments. So I kind of, if I'm having a day where I'm not feeling particularly inspired, but I want to play with my crafty goodies, then maybe I'll just spend a day, with my dies and die cutting out a bunch of different sentiments like this so that they're ready to go when I am ready to make cards or batch cards. So I do really like this here for you. I feel like the size is perfect to kind of fit in that little space in the lower left, and I thought to just continue the white to do the same thing. So once again, I'm using these amazing micro dots. They're perfect for fiddly little dies. That's the main reason I got them, was just for sentiments, because I just do not have the patience for the oozage that I get with liquid glue. I don't have it in me. So again, I just add the micro dots to the back of that, figure out where exactly I want it on the composition, make sure the two lines of text are straight, because this one is only attached on the one side, so you want to make sure that it's nice and straight. Just using my bone folder to really press that down, just because there is a lot of texture from that embossing. And then I do decide I want to bring in a little bit of blingage. So these are kind of iridescent, clear sequins in various different sizes. So I will use the liquid glue here just to kind of add down an odd number of these, 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom, like I said, in various different sizes. And that just gives it a little something extra to the card. But overall, it's very flat. It's not heavy. It shouldn't cost anything extra or cause you any issues with shipping. So this is just a fun, easy way to use not only your die cuts and your beautiful embossing folders, but maybe some of that not so pretty pattern paper that you have lying around. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for spending time with me today. If you did enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. And I will link all the available products in the video description box below. And when you guys do follow those links, it's no additional cost to you, but it really does help me out a lot. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you next time. Bye.